Suda51 just the other day announced that Fire Pro Wrestling returns this coming holiday for PC and PlayStation 4, and that's all, these motherfuckers. And then he decided to tell everybody that he's not going to be fucking involved in it. See ya. Talk to these people. And then, and I'm not clear on whether it is Spike Chunsoft that's handling the whole thing, but it looks to be really neat, and I haven't seen anything from it. But you want to talk about a game that will knock your fucking dick in. Yeah. It's Fire Pro Wrestling. Fire Pro Wrestling is so difficult that I don't even play it anymore because it just makes me mad. I just make it wrestle itself, and that's a real good time. Which brings me into something very interesting. Alpha Omega Sin decided that we should really talk about the hardest game levels in our collective experience. And
there's so many.
There's so many.
Okay. So I'm just going to start off with one, and it's an obscure as fuck reference, but I don't give a shit because this particular stage has kept me from ever beating the game, and I still can't, and I've been playing it since it came out. And that's a very underrated, unknown shooter from Working Designs, no less, and it's called Elemental Gearbolt. An Elemental Gearbolt is an on-rail shooter, I shit you not, RPG.
What?
On-rail shooter, RPG. Those aren't things. Those aren't things, but they made it a thing, and it really fucking works. You actually get experience and money, and you use it to go and build up one of two different types of stats. You switch between 3 different elements of fire, lightning, and I think ice. I forgot off the top of my head. But each one's like a shotgun, one's like machine gun, that sort of deal. So it's really good, cool-ass fantasy setting. The storyline is completely forgettable. Just get through the fucking cutscenes. They're stupid as shit and poorly translated. But there's a stage with this boss who looks like the ship from the original Independence Day. When a boss shows up on screen, its life bar starts showing up like this. Yeah. So it'll start filling up at the top of the screen. Well, when he shows up on screen, you can start shooting him before his life bar even begins appearing. So you can just start wailing away on him. He doesn't fucking care. It is like a solid minute of them just showing his life bar, still showing up. And you're just firing away. This motherfucker, and no, it just keeps going. And you keep firing, and it doesn't matter. And you might think to yourself, well, just go in 2-player mode because there's 2 of you, and you'll be... No. This is one of those games where if you have a second player, they crank up the difficulty to some god-tier level. And guess what? If you want to beat the game, they don't let you beat it on easy. They don't let you beat it on normal. You have to play it on hard. Because the minute that you get so far in easy, they're just like, yeah, now go play it on normal. This is old school gaming mentality for certain developers. They're like, oh, that's cute. You thought you beat the game. You didn't. You're a fucking loser. Yeah. Now actually play it.
It's like playing a beat 'em up back in the day, 2-player, and then your friend decides to puss out and go away, and now you, single player, have to deal with twice as many enemies because the game spawns more fucking people. Fuck you!
The Battletoads effect, as it were.
Oh my god!
The boss itself is one huge target. So it's impossible for you to miss because it takes up half the fucking screen. The problem with it is it just shoots tons of enemies at you. So it's not firing projectiles, it just shoots enemies, and the enemies are shooting shit at you. And it's tons of them, barrages. Keep in mind, I am a fucking on-roll shooter pro. Every single one of them I've played, I have beaten.
Especially Silent Hill, the arcade game.
Oh, you know what? I tried to play that. The only time I came across it, half the fucking screen was dead. So the left-hand portion of the screen, stuff would show up on it, but the gun wouldn't recognize it. Oh, so I ended up dying. Holy fuck, what a bad game. I would love to own it. So bad. Need to own it. It is fucking terrible. But that boss has... It's weird because me and both my best friends, we grew up playing this game. We've never been able to beat this boss. If you look up Let's Plays of it, you'll see other people beat it. I just safely assume they're cheating because you can't actually do that. There is no beating it. It has to be like an error in the programming. I refuse to accept that you can beat that. It's just, no. It's sorcery, selling your fucking soul to the devil, some shit like that. That's all. Fuck that stage. Fuck that boss.
That shit with the life bar reminds me of the original Breath of Fire. So for those who don't remember, in Breath of Fire, this was one of the bullshit things about Breath of Fire. I love that game, but it's complete bullshit. So your enemies have life, but this is just an RPG, right? Turn-based RPG. Now, what's the rule in an RPG? You knock the guy's HP down. He has X number of HP. Once that HP goes down to 0, he dead. Right? That's the fucking deal. That's how Breath of Fire and any other RPG is supposed to work. Not Breath of Fire, motherfucker. The life bar goes down, and then it says, he got up. And then there's this tiny little pellet of life, and he just sits there like, no, bitch. He no-sells death. and then it's amazing. So the hardest part in that game, it's not the final boss. It's not like the semi-final, the semi-main event or any of the mini-bosses that you have to fight. It's a fucking gremlin that you have to fight. There's this stone robot, right? And you have to get the key from this dungeon, and then the key operates this stone robot because you got to use its fucking laser eye to blow a hole in a volcano. It's amazing. And right when you get to the very top, you have to climb up this stone robot fighting enemies, and you get to the fucking cockpit, I guess, where you have to stick the key in and whatever, and there's a dude, like a knight there, and he's just like, what do you mean, why am I here? I'm just a random knight, and I'm a dick. And then when you show up and you're like, hey, what are you doing here? He turns into a goddamn gremlin. And you fight him, and his health goes down real fast, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a fucking breeze. This is going to be fantastic. And then it says, the gremlin got up. And no fucking shit, the first time I played this, I was over at my friend's house, and we spent like 4 hours just wailing away at this dude. We were passing the controller back and forth. I would just go get something to fucking eat. I took a nap. And when I woke up, he was still fighting this fucking boss. It was amazing.
The thing, when you started mentioning Breath of Fire, I was like, I know where this is going. I know this is where... I had played Breath of Fire 1 after I had played like 2 and 3. And I remember going back to it. I'm like, I'm glad this mechanic never came back. I'm so glad this shit... Because I'm sorry, but when you're in the middle of... You're going through a fucking dungeon, and you're just like, well, I just went through all of my fucking item reserves. I'm dying. Like, I'm actually dying. And you get to the boss, and this boss is fucking you. It just straight up fucking you. And it is not good. Sandpaper, condom, and fucking all. And this is an olden time, so you were already getting hit with all sorts of fucking STDs that we've outgrown. Well, then all of a sudden, it just pops back up. I'm like, what are you? Like, you were like vintage Undertaker phenom, like popping back up. I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude? I just hit you with everything, and you don't care. Like, and then when they do have no health, they just absorb your hits. Their bar stays the fucking same, and you're like,
yeah, and it doesn't move. That's the thing. It's just a little pellet. It doesn't. You can wail on this fucker for an hour and a half. That pellet does not move at all. He's just. I just don't get the no-selling death thing. Like, what is he just like? Fuck death? What is that nonsense? Hand me the Robitussin,
dude.
I'll take
and his name is John Cena.
Yeah, no shit.
It just kills me because you're a team of badasses and you're all super strong, and then you go in and you're like, well, that gremlin had my number. Good shit. Good. Glad that's what happened. I'll save the world.
There has to be a trick for that. There has to be a way to beat him. Like, how do you kill the gremlin? You just keep hitting him till he eventually
You
drops.
do. You just keep wailing on him. You have to be prepared for it. That's what makes it so hard. Every boss before and after this dude is 1,000 times easier than this guy. He comes out of fucking nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So you're not like, oh shit, here comes a really hard boss. I better stock up on potions and acorns and shit so I can have enough health and magic. No. So you just get blindsided by this bitch.